back to Ask Angelina, but before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you that if you like my podcast, please follow, rate, and share it with your friends and family. I brought back a special guest who was on a recent episode about attending an American school in Taiwan. If you didn't get the chance to listen, please check out part 1 and part 2. So let's run it back and hear who she is again.
So my name is Jamie. I am 18. I met Angelina when we were taking the placement test before the first year of high school in Taipei. So I have lived in multiple different places. The short gist of it would be I was born in America, but then I lived in Shanghai until 2nd/3rd grade. And then I moved to America, California more specifically. And then when COVID started, I moved to Taiwan instead. And that's where I've been the last few years.
Then what would you say when people ask you where you're from? Do you just say where you just moved from or where you stayed the longest in?
I think now that we're going into college, there's going to be a lot of people asking me that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I would just say I'm from Taiwan. And then if people were to ask more clarifying questions, I would say more specifically, I'm Taiwanese American or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, out of all the places that you lived in, California, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and now Taiwan, what place felt like home to you, and which was your favorite and why?
I think I would say I just feel most at home in Taiwan right now because it's where I've lived the last 4/5 years, and that's technically the same amount of time that I lived in America, but it has to do with I think community as well, because I feel more comfortable with my social circle here than I was back then in America during elementary and middle school. And I have a lot more relatives living in Taiwan as well. So I can go visit my grandparents. I can visit a lot more cousins than I used to be able to when I lived in America. That's a big reason I feel more at home here. And also because I think just living in Taipei has its benefits compared to living in a suburban town in California,
Yeah, everything is more convenient and closer together.
Yeah, for sure. It's so much more convenient. The cost of living and the cost of everything in general is so much lower.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I can't really give up. So I can't imagine myself moving back to America by myself either.
Yeah, because right now you're going to be an upcoming freshman at Hong Kong University, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, did you ever feel or experience culture shock or reverse culture shock when you were going back and forth between the different countries?
Culture shock. When I moved from... Okay, this is a funny thing. I think we did talk a little bit about this in the last episode of the VNet, but when I first moved from Shanghai to an American public school, I was expecting to get bullied.
Oh, yeah.
Because, all those Hollywood teenage coming of age cliquey movies, it's always the new transfer student is going to get bullied because you have no friends there. Whatever. But the place I lived, they had a large population of Asians already. There was little racism, I would say, for that reason. Besides, white kids made a few comments about the food I was eating, something like that. But
I see.
it wasn't a super big deal. And I did well by myself there. Yay! When I moved from America to Taiwan afterwards, I didn't really feel that much of a culture shock because I was already familiar with Taipei's environment because every year previous to that, I would come back to Taiwan at least once a year to visit my family anyways. It wasn't new being in Taipei. And since we were attending an American school in Taipei, the educational environment didn't feel that different either. The small bit of culture shock that I felt was after I went back to America. It was last year's summer. I went back to California to visit my friends there for a little bit and also for college visits. I also went to the East Coast, New York, for the first time for just 3 days during that trip. And I felt kind of out of place in both those places for some reason. in New York especially, I don't know, like there's a large international population there. I don't know why I felt out of place in New York. Maybe I just didn't like New York though.
Maybe because it's like everyone's in their own individual pace in life.
And maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I felt like I was going to be stared at when I walked out into the street. And it wasn't like super intense or anything, but I did feel like a little out of place. And then when I went back to the town that I lived in California, similar feeling, but not as strong, because most of my time there I just spent like lounging around at my friend's house. So in terms of culture shock, I would say not really, but I am in a weird like situation where I have been traveling back and forth for so long, and I might just have a bad memory, you know?
Yeah, because it's the most recent, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you had that not so good experience in New York. But...
That's good. I've never been the type to take that kind of stuff too seriously anyways. People ask me what I'm eating, I just tell them the answer. You know?
Yeah, very straightforward and direct.
Yeah. Did you have anything like that happen to you before when you were you lived in so many different states? So.
Well, a bit about me is that I was born in Wisconsin, and I lived there for, I think, elementary school, so like 10-ish years. And then I moved to Austin, Texas, and then I was there for 3 or 4 years, I think, yeah. And then between in Wisconsin and before Texas, I lived in Singapore for 6 months, and then back again, and then 6 months again. So like a total of 1 year in Singapore. And then I went from Texas to Taiwan. I don't know why, but it was kind of like what you felt when I moved back here, because whenever I would visit Taiwan, I would always visit Kaohsiung, which is south of Taiwan. I would never really come up to Taipei unless there was like an event where I was meeting aunties or uncles. Yeah. So I never really experienced what it would be like living in Taipei. And
I'm curious then.
Yeah.
Why didn't your parents decide for you and your brother to attend the Kaohsiung American School instead?
Oh, well, we had family in Kaohsiung, but it's not as modern and fresh as Taipei, and there's a lot of good opportunities in Taipei.
Yeah, Taipei is still the capital for a reason.
Yes, yeah, and there's so many cool things around here compared to Kaohsiung. Even though, like, I visit Kaohsiung quite a lot on the high-speed rail, which is the bullet train. And,
you visit, almost every weekend, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Because I always visit my grandparents, and then we just, hang out there at my grandparents' house. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But back to your question, if I ever felt any culture shock or risk culture shock, I think I have felt culture shock when I first arrived to Taipei, because it was definitely a bigger city than Kaohsiung, and everything was so modern and new. And it was also hard to adjust because our move happened so fast. We were rushing around trying to find a place to live, unpack all of our boxes, and also I was starting school in less than 2 weeks of when we first arrived. So I think that rushed environment probably added to my culture shock. And then when I went back to visit Texas and California for the first time after I moved to Taiwan, I was just surprised about how things felt really foreign. And I was like, I actually know what it's like to live there, and I lived in the area for a while, so this should be normal to me. But it didn't. It felt weird and out of place, which is different.
Me.
Yeah.
When I visited last summer, my friend's dad decided to drive past the house that I used to live in, and he told me somebody else is living there now, right? He wanted get off the car, say hello, maybe. So I walked past, I walked into the driveway, and I was like, yeah, but this is very familiar scenery to me, even though I haven't been here in 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And I knocked on the door, and then an old little lady answered, and then she just stared at me, and then I said, hi, I used to live here, and she just said, okay, so what?
Oh no!
And then, I was surprised for a few seconds. I was like, okay, well, that was not the answer I was expecting. So then I just said, yeah, I just wanted to say hi. And then I turned around and I left.
Wow, that's definitely something.
very, very anticlimactic reunion with the house that I lived in for 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
But it was okay. I realized later on that I don't have too much of an attachment to, like, physical spaces, I guess. Like, I think of this place as my home, and I never had a problem thinking of it as my home.
Yeah, because I think it's also, like, the culture, too. I think you just, like, have to adjust as time goes by.
Yeah. I think I just, like, since we've moved around so often, I have the ability to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
It's more like that cliche little saying, like, oh, home is where your family is, it's not the house, you know, like that.
Yeah, but that's so true, though.
Yeah, it is.
Have you kept in contact with your old friends from all the places you lived in?
From when I lived in Shanghai, no, because I was, you know, in kindergarten and stuff. In kindergarten, first and second grade, I didn't have social media. I couldn't keep in contact with them. But, I mean, given the chance, I think I might be willing to, like, reconnect. I think that sounds fun.
Yeah.
With my parents probably have some of those old contacts, you know, through things like Facebook and stuff, but, like, I don't place no much, importance on that. Most of the friends I still keep in touch with from before are the ones from California. And yeah, for sure, I still keep in touch with, I wouldn't say a lot, but, like, quite a few. Just, like, a week ago, a couple of them were here to visit, to visit, like, me specifically, which made me, like, super happy.
Oh, wait, that's so sweet.
And actually, maybe I can't say that because they do have other friends in Taipei as well. But I was the one that, like, pushed the most for them to come here, you know? But, like, I had one friend who, like, it was his first time in Taiwan, like, entirely. He was in Cambodia to visit his relatives for a while before that, and, like, his trip was originally going to be earlier, but then it got pushed back because he got food poisoning there.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, he was delayed for a few days, and then he came here for about a week. And the first few days, I had a lot of fun just bringing him around. Like, I wish I could have brought him to the more touristy spaces that people talk about Taipei having, but then it's so hot recently.
That's true.
The weather is just a little bit too unbearable for us to be walking around outside too long. So I really just brought him along to the places I usually go to.
Yeah, you probably showed him a lot of cafes and, like, fun stuff.
Cafes, we watched the movie. We watched the new Superman movie. It was
was it good?
It was my second time watching it. I think it's really good. I couldn't watch it a third time, though. I don't. It's a good movie, and I think it's worth it. I'm just not willing to sit down for another 2 hours again.
Oh, yeah. Well, what was the hardest part about moving schools and starting over in a new country every time? That is a very good question. It's harder for me to answer because I feel my answer was different when I was younger because one thing I have to say changed about me after I moved to Taipei was that I kind of stopped caring too much about other people's opinions. Yeah, that's good.
Like, when I first moved to school in America, like I said, I was expecting to be bullied, so I went in kind of, like, very timid and, like, kind of waited for people to pick me up, you know? To, like, pick me up and make me their friend forcibly. Friendships develop in a very organic way when that happens, I feel like. But then, like, throughout my middle school years, I was also kind of antisocial. Like, I had friends already, so I was, like, super adamant about just sticking with them and not really interacting with anybody else. Yeah, like, I was comfortable with what I had, and I wasn't really willing to go any further than that. And then I moved to Taiwan, and I didn't really have any friends here prior to that, besides, like, one very old kindergarten classmate that I hadn't seen in, like, a decade, maybe. So that kindergarten friend, the two of us were in the same local school for, like, a couple months. So she helped me feel more comfortable because we, like, managed to reconnect, like, really quickly. So that was a good thing that I had going for me when I first moved to a local school here. But then I moved, and then we got transferred to the American school, and there, you kind of know how it happened, right? The two of us met and we became friends pretty naturally during the placement test, and then after the first day of school started, the both of us were picked up again by somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I also didn't have any friends when I came here, because we'd always come for, like, my grandparents or, like, to visit
So the only people that I knew around my age before I moved here were basically just my cousins, and they're all younger than me.
Do you feel like people in different countries treat friendship and socializing differently?
I mean, they probably do, but most of my friend circles are very American. So in that sense, probably not. Or maybe it's like a Gen Z situation. Like, Gen Z kids from every country interact with their friends the same way. Okay, here's one thing I can talk about a little bit. It's, when I lived in California, the town that I lived in, it was like, the entire town basically knew each other. It was a very close-knit community. It wasn't like it was a very small number of people or anything, but most of the families that lived there for like decades,
Wow.
Yeah, most of the kids my age, they would have been there since like kindergarten, and they graduated high school there as well. Compared to me, who, like, I dropped in throughout elementary, middle school, and then I just disappeared again. So I'm probably forgotten by most of the people there.
Oh.
But the result of that kind of community is that a lot of people there end up in very long-lasting friend groups who are, like, all super close to each other. You hear stories about, like group chats and stuff that are active, like, every single day. They're always calling each other. They're always making plans to hang out. Compared to here, where my friendships are, it's not like we don't have a friend group or anything, but I think the way I, like, hang out with people is more one-on-one most of the time. Unless it's, like a big event, like a birthday party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That recently.
Yeah, recently we celebrated a birthday of someone, and that was really fun. Otherwise, it might also just be like a me thing. I'm very bad at scheduling hangouts. Most of my free days, it's a hit or a miss with whether or not I'm feeling like, man, I could be doing something else and hanging out with someone else right now, or being like, I love chilling at home so much.
Do you think that moving around made you like that more, or made you
probably
seek independence?
Yeah, you probably hit it on the nose there, because it's like it's probably a bad habit, but the way I sometimes approach my relationships or interactions with people is kind of like, I'll never see this person again. So I don't put a lot of, it's not like I'm rude or mean or anything, but I'm probably a little bit more distant in the way I interact with people, and I talk with them without really expecting to have any follow-up afterwards, because that history of moving around has made me kind of like forget people a lot more easily. Like, I say that people in California most of them have probably forgotten me, and the truth is I've forgotten most of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a while ago too, like 4 years ago.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Do you think that moving helped you grow up faster, and in what ways?
Grow up faster, I can't say for sure. I think I've always been a little bit like that, just like that, I don't know, like, I was the kid that was praised by my parents for being like very guai, very obedient, but that was in comparison to my older brother. Very chaotic household when we were younger. I used to get into fights with him all the time, basically.
Oh no.
Like, very, very physical fights too.
Oh my gosh. That's not
good. I probably won at least 50% of the time.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's because I realized he's like a scrawny little kid as well. If I just sit on top of him, he can't get up.
Wait, that's so funny. That's
yeah,
like so
I know
different.
you and your older brother, you have a very good relationship with each other.
Yeah, because we gotten more close, like, as we moved around. So, I don't know, just as the years go by, like, we got closer and closer, and now we're still as close as we were before. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I've gone a little bit more distant from my brother because of that moving around, because we were always like reaching out to other people rather than each other, you know?
Oh,
So
I see.
it's just gotten to the point where we have very, very separate social lives. There's almost like zero overlap. And I think that's fine. I don't really want to be friends with the people my brother would be friends with. So,
Yeah.
yeah. As we're growing up, that whole thing about not caring about people's opinions, I think that's like a lesson everybody has to learn at some point. I think I'm just glad then that I learned it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, wait, that's such a good trait though, because for me, I still care like sometimes what people think about, but that's good that you don't make it like a whole thing about yourself, you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, having a little bit of like social self-awareness is definitely good. It's not like you want to be making like a mess in public or something like that. But
Yeah.
at one point you realize people just don't care that much, and that makes it a lot better.
Yeah. I think Jamie shared a really good life lesson about not caring about what other people think and staying true to yourself. And like this life lesson, our shared experiences of moving between different cultures and countries really shaped us into who we are today. I hope you were able to take away something meaningful from our conversation. Stay tuned for part 2 of what we learned from moving around the world, and don't forget to follow, rate, and share this podcast with your friends and family. Goodbye!